Yeah, well, it's okay, Bubba. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome to the Living Room Podcast. As my dog is very excited, my dog Angelo is very excited about today's show. Um, it's NFL Draft Weekend, and unlike Alex Cora of the Boston Red Sox, the three of us still have jobs. So, we've already started off the Sunday on a great foot. Um, as always, my two tag team partners every Sunday for the Living Podcast. Um, First, a man who resides in Baltimore, Maryland, but his heart is clearly in the Sunshine State of Florida. Um, Marvin Harris. Good morning, Marvin. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I am dealing with my draft hangover. I'm excited. I'm happy. Great to be great to be on the show today. Ready to
Good
talk
to
some
have you
football.
again, Marv. And calling in from Metro Los Angeles, California, considering I'm not sure exactly what town he lives in. It's been a few out there. I don't think it's still Aliso Viejo, but I could be wrong. Calling in from Metro LA, our fearless leader, so to speak, on the podcast, Mr. Steve Itzkowitz. Steve, good morning.
I'm sorry, you trying to say that I move around a lot? Yeah, I've
Yeah,
lived in
you're a
quite a few
player.
cities in Southern California.
You're the
Lake
player of the
Elsinore.
year.
Lake Elsinore is where I live, which is about an hour and 10 minutes from downtown LA, off the beaten path, kind of peaceful and quiet out here. It's nice. And all I gotta say is, Jack, friggin' Niners.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. My name is Jack Angelo, calling in from Orange, Connecticut. We have, to those who might be new to our little Sunday coffee brunch here. Full disclosure, Marvin is a diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fan. We're going to be asking Marv for some post mortem on what happened in Duval County over the weekend and how excited he is for this next season. And Steve, even though he's a SoCal guy, his heart is in NorCal with the San Francisco 49ers. And we'll ask Steve to break down John Lynch and Company's San Fran draft. Myself, I am a New York Giants fan. It's nice to have a damn adult in the room like John Harbaugh. You can really tell the difference just the way they drafted. It's clear now. I didn't really realize this. Not following Baltimore on a daily basis. John Harbaugh likes big players, and the Giants got Giants. But we're not going to start there. Um, let's do a quick postmortem
I
of
like that. Giants
you
got
know,
Giants. That's good.
let's do a quick postmortem um, of our teams before we get into the overarching draft in and of itself. Um, Marvin, we said we'd start with you. Jacksonville did not have a first round pick. They had several picks thereafter. What do you like about what Jacksonville did? Was there anything that made you scratch your head? Were there any players that you said, "Damn, he's there. I wish we'd have taken him." Give us the Jacksonville bent on NFL Draft 2026.
Definitely. So to kick it off, to start it off, the player the player that I wanted was Jordan, that big running back from Washington, right? So I thought I was like, oh, he's still there. We'll be able to get him. But unfortunately, we did not pick him. Our first pick was Nate Wolkersher, a tight end. Uh, that was a head scratcher, right? That was one of those picks where, like, literally, I was at a sports bar, and when they made that pick, everyone was like, "Yeah, wait, what?" Because literally, we already have three tight ends. Britton Strange, we're working to redo his contract, so we have a number one tight end. But the biggest question mark when you're talking about a tight end who only had 6 catches last year, which was the most throughout his collegiate career, and he's a
Right.
blocker. So spending a second round pick on a tight end that's an inline blocker, that was a bit high because you could have got, to be in all honesty, you could have got this guy down in the fifth round. But
Mhm.
they also said, and Mel Kiper was talking, and he kind of compared him to George Kittle when he came out. And I'm like, well, if he turns out to be that, then he's definitely going to be special. So he was the head scratcher. The defensive tackle from Texas A&M, Albert Regis, and actually both of them came from Texas A&M. I like him.
Yep.
He's short. He's only like 6'1", but I mean, straight. You got to move him out the way. Like he is stout, does not move. So we definitely needed some inside defensive lineman help. But the pick that saved our entire draft was Emmanuel Pregnon. They had him graded out for late first round, early second round, and we actually got him in the third round at pick 88. He is a mauler inside a guard.
Yes.
So he was like our best pick. The Jalen Husky pick though, right at the end of the, because we had the last pick in the second round. I mean, in the third round. That was a reach. He's an interception machine, but he's a horrible tackler. Like he really doesn't tackle anybody. Um, that's how Maryland had such issues with that secondary. They were up in games, but then teams would just pick on him because yeah, he'll take some chances and snag the ball from you. But if you can get the ball to get a short range, go at it. He's a horrible tackler. But overall, we did pretty good. Picked up some more wide receivers later in the draft. Got some edge help. Um, and I do like the edge out of Duke. I like Wesley Williams. I got a chance to see him play. He was really good. So overall, it was okay. And we didn't even use all our picks. We had 11 picks. We only used 10. Um, so there's definitely a method to the madness, and we shall see what it is. You know what I mean? But overall, I would give us I don't know. I'd probably give us like a C plus maybe.
Okay. Not a ringing endorsement, but it's honest,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that comes from someone who follows Jacksonville closer than the rest of us. So a C plus out of Duval County, Florida. I will be down not in Jacksonville. A week from tomorrow, I fly down to Palm Beach. So looking forward to
Okay.
that, getting away from the Northeast for a little while and being in the Sunshine State, my home away from home. Steve, let's take I-10 across to Los Angeles and then take I-5 up to San Francisco and get the postmortem on the San Francisco 49er draft. Is Steve still with us or is he on mute?
Frickin' Niners.
Oh, there
Sorry,
we go.
I muted myself. Frickin' Niners. I don't know what the Niners have about not drafting offensive linemen high in the drafts. This is the third wide receiver to be drafted in a high round. Mind you, the second round, the Niners kept trading down and down and down. And I was thinking that, do the Niners know that the draft is happening this year and next year? I all the trading down was a little bit confusing, but more confusing was who they traded down to get.
Mm-hmm.
You take Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss. He's fast. He's got a 4.39 40-yard dash. That's why the Niners drafted him.
Yep.
That's the only reason why they drafted him. And he comes out of Ole Miss, which was a good team, playing in the SEC. He's played at against high level competition. I get it. Why the Niners might choose him, but Denzel Boston, just up the road in Seattle at a place called the University of Washington, was also available. And that probably would have made more sense given he was right up the road and easier to scout for the 49ers. Not to mention he's bigger than Stribling and he's almost as fast as Stribling. He would have been a better combo receiver for the Niners than Dejon Stribling is probably going to be. But I digress. The Niners' greatest need coming into this draft, Jack and Marvin, was offensive line. We need to improve on the right side while also having succession plan for the left side. Because Trent Williams, even though he's coming back, thank God, is not getting any younger. And there was a guy that they could have grabbed at number 27 if they didn't trade down to the second round, named Caleb Lomu out of Utah, who was coached by Kyle Whittingham, a coach that I respect a lot, a program that I respect a lot, particularly in the Pac-12, watching Utah over the years as I follow the Pac-12, as you guys know. He was right there for the Niners. What do the Niners do? They trade down to the second round. They get a third-round pick out of it, which is fine, but it's how they utilize that third-round pick that I'm also going to talk about in a moment. It's just Caleb Loma was right there. You could have slid him in at right guard. Colton McKivitz, who's very good at run blocking, not so good at pass blocking, which was a weakness for the 49ers last year. Caleb Loma could have slid in at right guard and given Colton McKivitz some competition. You get depth at that position. More importantly, Lomu could have been the succession plan for Trent Williams when he eventually stops playing football, because as we all know, no one plays football forever, assuming you know what the word forever means. So there's that. And then the 49ers draft in the third round Romello Hyde, an edge out of Texas Tech, playing opposite Bailey, David Bailey, went number 2 to the Jets, which was a great pick. He's 25 coming in. So he's played a lot of football. So he's coming in with reps, which is good, but he's a very unspectacular player at edge. Even though he had David Bailey on the left side, only one season he had 10 sacks, double-digit sacks. Before that, he had 6.5 sacks total. He is a guy, and maybe the theory is playing opposite Nick Bosa. That might release him. You have Mikael Williams. They have depth at that particular position. But again, you had the opportunity to get an offensive lineman. Chase Basantis was also available out of Texas A&M. They could have drafted him first in the
I
second
liked
round.
him.
I
I like Bitsianis.
Yeah,
I
I
really
like him
did.
as well. At least an interior guard because um, what's his name? Ben Bass for the 49ers grades very low according to ProFootballFocus.com. That does a very good job. I don't like Mike Florio's predictions, but one thing Pro Football Focus does a very good job of is grading offensive line players collectively and individual offensive linemen. And Ben Bass graded low last year. You could have gotten Basantes for that inner guard position. That would have straightened the offensive line up the middle for Brock Purdy. And but instead you go for Romello Height, and I know they wanted an edge rusher with depth behind Bosa, behind Mikael Williams. I get that part of it. I just don't get getting Romello Hyde. So you trade out of the first round to go to the second round, and you don't get Caleb Lamu. It goes 28 to the Patriots, which I think is a great pick for them when we saw what happened to the Patriots offensive line last year. And then you draft Romello Hyde with that third round pick. And there were guys at edge or even at safety like McNeil Warren, another need for the Niners in terms of their secondary, a safety. And you don't get either one of those guys. You go with Romello Hyde. The one pick I like for the 49ers was at number 90 in round 3 was Kalon Black, the running back out of Indiana. I think that's going to be a good pick. You get depth behind Christian McCaffrey. Kalon Black is a tough runner inside. He could go outside. Very, very versatile. He will fit very well in the zone blocking scheme for the 49ers or the zone running scheme for the 49ers. Not to mention Caleb Lomu also would have fit the zone blocking scheme that the 49ers want to utilize in Kyle Shanahan's office. Another reason to draft Lomu at 27, but you didn't. And it is what it is. So I give the Niners draft a CC minus because I'm not sure they did a good enough job. We didn't pick our first offensive lineman until the 4th round, Carver Willis, the offensive tackle out of Washington. And then in the 5th round, we got Enrique Cruz, another offensive tackle out of Kansas. Why take 2 offensive tackles when you could have had an interior lineman that that you had a need for with Ben? What I talked about Ben Bass before. So even when you take your offensive lineman not until rounds 4 and 5, both of them are offensive tackles. This draft makes very little sense to me, Jack. What the 49ers did, I give them a CC minus and friggin' Niners.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're very happy with your draft. Let's just what
And by the way, if I could add, you signed Mike Evans and Christian Kirk as free agents. Awesome job. The Niners did a great job in free agency. Osi Odigizua from the Cowboys by trade, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk. You bring back Dre Greenlaw. You sign Nate Hobbs. Great free agency season. If they had did a better job with this draft, it might have been a perfect offseason for the Niners when you consider how successful they were in free agency.
Yeah. Yep. Did you say what what PFF graded your Niners?
They were preseason 5th. I think they finished lower than that. They were considered above average.
A draft grade. A draft grade.
Oh, draft grade. I haven't looked that up as of yet. I just saw what the offensive line was graded last year. I don't really know. I'm going to guess it was probably a C, but I'll look that up.
The Niners,
my grade,
again,
from my personal portfolio, is CC minus from my perspective.
You're close. The Niners got a D from PFF. Now this is one site.
D?
And
oh
great,
my Lord.
I
guess I was being generous.
Yeah, well, and you got to be careful grading drafts,
That's
in the
true.
moment.
They
really need to be looked at.
Be good, it won't be good, but still, they
really need to be.
We knew what the
needs
were. They didn't do that well enough. So,
so it sounds like Marvin's kind of mediocre on his draft. It doesn't sound like you're very happy with your draft at all. As far as the Giants, I'm very happy. Not the 2 players I thought would be coming to the Giants. I thought there was a chance that the Giants ended up with Jeremiah Love. I think the Giants were enamored with him. I thought there was a chance they would end up with Sonny Styles. I thought there was a chance they'd end up with Vega Ioane. None of that happened. Um, they ended up going, arguably the best defender on the board with Arvel Reese. Um, a lot of people mistakenly think Arvel Reese is an edge rusher. He's not. He does that. Arvel Reese will be used in the Giants system next to Tremaine Edmonds as an off-ball linebacker, the will, if you will, in the 3-4 scheme. Gives the Giants plenty of sideline to sideline coverage, and the guy's a human missile. The guy hits everything. So I was more than pleased with that. Um, Thanks to Dexter Lawrence, we ended up with pick number 10. We got CC Noah, the big right tackle out of Miami, and I mean big. Um, the Giants will bump him into right guard. Um, the highest rated offensive lineman in the draft. The only I wouldn't say knock, the only thing I would question is could we have taken Caleb Downs there? And, even though we have two safeties with Holland and Newbin, Caleb Downs might be a special player. And now we got to see him twice a year in Dallas. But we went with Maui Noah. We just re-signed our right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor. So Maui Noah is going to plug and play at the right guard position. A lot of people think that he could be an all-pro right guard. Can you imagine that if you're a defender? The first body you see is Maui Noah. The second body you see is 300-pound fullback Patrick Ricard. Oh, and then there's Cam Scatterbo running the ball behind both of those two monsters. You can tell John Harbaugh has a type. You can tell what John Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to run the damn ball and stop the damn run. And they drafted like that's what they want to do. I am very pleased. I think they got a steal with Colton Hood, the cornerback, in the second round. He was CB1 for Tennessee this year because McCoy was hurt. And then Malachi Fields, I don't know if that's the receiver I would have gone with. The guy I was really enamored with and hope would fall to us was KC Concepcion, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Even though he has a bit of the dropsies. But overall, I'm very pleased with the Giants draft. I see the vision. I see what they want to do. You can tell this was John Harbaugh's draft. Even in the post draft press conferences, Joe Shane was kind of there as window dressing. Well, John Harbaugh handled everything. You can see the vision for where he wants to take the Giants, and I am very much looking forward to this season of Giants football. But now that we've given you our own personal spin of our own personal teams, there were 31 other teams other than the ones we root for drafting over the weekend. Steve, give me a team you really think knocked it out of the park. It cannot be. I know you don't think the Niners did. It cannot be your own team. Whose draft do you really love that is not the Niners?
But I got to say the Giants. You get
Okay.
a impact player on the defensive side in Arvell Reese, who fell to number 5. It's hard to say that a number 5 pick is a value pick. This one absolutely is because I had Arvell Reese going top 3. I think most of us did. And he goes number 5 to the Giants. Tennessee does the take him at number 4. They go with Carnell Tate. That was a little bit surprising. I was certainly surprised by Jeremiah Love drafted number 3 by the Cardinals. So Arvell Reese falls to you at number 5 and good for the Giants. And then you get, possibly the best offensive tackle in the draft in Francis Mauigoa. A plus. Well, maybe an A. Caleb Downs, I would like
PFF
at that
graded him an
particular
A.
spot. I think if they drafted Caleb Downs, I give him an A plus. I give him an A for Mauigoa and for Arvell Reese. I would say the Giants had a very impressive draft. I was also impressed by what Cleveland did.
Yep. Yep.
And I guess we'll get to the confusions because there's quite a few teams I'm
Yeah, we'll
confused
get into
about
that
as
next.
far as I get that.
You
But
know,
right off the top of my head, the Giants, I think, had the best draft in the first round. They had two first round picks, and they had two impact players that they selected, particularly Arvo Reese being available to them in number five, and then shoring up an offensive line, investing in the future of young Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo. And their overall draft, their subsequent picks also. I just think the Giants knocked it out of the park, so I grade them the highest as far as the draft goes. And again, I was impressed by what Cleveland did as well with their draft, upgrading the offense a little bit and the defense, very well balanced. What they ultimately did, but good job by the Giants, unlike my freaking Niners.
Marvin, whose draft did you like out there?
But definitely give kudos to your Giants because every time they made a pick, you're like, oh man, I get it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I was like, okay. Harbaugh went in with a plan, and he definitely executed that plan to perfection. So that was good. But it was a couple surprises to me. It really was. Carolina definitely gets an honorable mention from me because they did really well. But the team that really stood out to me, and I was watching to see what they were going to do, was Miami, right? So I was like, I'm gonna see Miami lost so much stuff. I'm gonna see how they approach this draft and how they go into it. And when they took Proctor, I was like, okay, they have a plan in place. But when they took Rodriguez, I was like, wow, because I
Yeah.
mean that's the best linebacker in the draft. Period. Like he
Yep.
is just everything, and then he fits that Miami profile, right? Not too tall, but sideline to sideline, which
Right.
is that's the type of linebacker that they look. So they went
Yeah.
in, and I mean, they hit everything, especially on that defensive side of the ball. Man. They really did. So I really, really like their draft a lot. And the other team, and I know a lot of people don't like to give them props or whatever it may be, but although they didn't pull in pick any linemen, Kansas City had a sneaky good draft, man. They really did. Like because I wanted to see how they were going to try to replace those cornerbacks, and they hit it out the park. They did. So I know they've been quiet. A lot of people really not paying them any attention. But they went and got some guys that's gonna be plug and play. Big time plug and play. From
Yeah, I
big
agree with
schools.
that, Marvin. They trade up to get Mansour Delani. I'm not sure they needed to do that only because, I think you could have gotten him at number nine. I'm not sure I have to trade up to number six together, but I love that pick for the Chiefs at six or at nine. And then you get Peter Woods on the back end at defensive tackle, which I think was a position of need as well. I agree. You thought maybe they'd go with offensive line, given Andy Reid is an offensive line guy, Patrick Mahomes coming back from a major injury, but at the end of the day, they really shored up or they addressed two major needs, defensive line as well as cornerback in that AFC West. That Monster Delani pick is a beauty. And adding Peter Woods to them will give their defense a little bit more balance, youth, and athleticism coming into next season.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was definitely the team I love. And then like I said, but honorable mention, you also got to give a shout out to the Raiders. You really have to give a shout out to the Raiders because Brady and them guys did a heck of a job of filling their slots. But I can talk about every team, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was my
You know what?
yeah,
You know what
Miami
my
was the team for
favorite
me.
pick of the Raiders was. Um, I like the running back they got out of Arkansas. I think
Hmm.
he's going to be a great running, and now they really have a two-headed beast back there with Genty and
Yes.
the kid they got from Arkansas, who was a great running back. Um, Jermon McCoy. He
Oh
didn't play at
yeah.
all this year. He's got a knee.
Yeah.
Heaven help the AFC West if McCoy ever gets healthy and is 100%. He could be a lockdown
Yes.
corner down in
Yeah, you want to
Vegas.
talk about a
What a
value
great
pick. He
value
dropped
pick in the
way
fourth
down.
round.
I had him
I
top
mean,
12.
Yes.
this kid was only rated behind Delaney himself from LSU in terms of corner, but he didn't play, um, and he fell to the fourth round. If that kid ever gets right out in Las Vegas, what a steal! A fourth round pick for that kind of corner. Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously, they have Mendoza and the like, but I really loved that pick from the Raiders. I'm sorry,
Mike
I was thinking about
Washington
a couple
Jr.
different
is
things
the
at
running
once.
back from Arkansas you're referring to, Jack. Mike Washington Jr., by the
Mike
way.
Washington, yep.
Yeah, fourth round pick.
and even though, the team that I think had a sneaky good, at least the top of their draft. Now PFF only gave them a B minus for their draft overall, and let's face it, do we really know a lot about these fourth, fifth, sixth rounders? We probably didn't see much of any of them play, and we have to take faith in the scouting departments with that. The Houston Texans. They start off their draft at pick number 26 with guard Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. Awesome pick. We all know they need offensive line help in Houston. They can slot this guy at center. They can put him at guard. I think Keelan Rutledge was a fantastic pick. And the guy I think might be the best value pick in the entire draft, their second round pick at number 36, Caden McDonald, the big run stuffing defensive tackle out of Ohio State. What a steal. You want to talk about the rich getting richer. That was clear, and I think they traded up ahead of my Giants to get them because the Giants would have taken them after losing Dexter Lawrence. They already have a fearsome front in Houston, and it just got deeper and better with McDonald because this guy is the real deal. This guy is really the real deal. You want to talk about a defensive line rotation when you're playing the Houston Texans. Good luck. Good luck running the ball on them. I really think Houston bettered themselves. Again, they got a B minus from PFF, and that's only one grade. But we really don't know. I mean, honestly, does anybody know, much about wide receiver Lewis Bond out of Boston College that they picked with pick 204? No. We don't know that at our level. But we had some head scratchers in the draft, both with teams, both with fit. Both of you gentlemen mentioned, in your synopsis, your first pick in the draft kind of had you both scratching your heads. The tight end for Jacksonville, even though I do love Pregnon out of Oregon. Did Isaiah World, the tackle out of Oregon, get drafted? Does anybody know?
Oh, I want to say yes.
But
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
but Steve, we'll start with you. Give me one or two head scratchers. It could be from round one or round two, or again, you cannot use San Francisco. You can't use your own team. Let's have, and same thing for the rest of us. We're not using our own teams, so we already gave the postmortem on our teams.
Actually,
so a real head scratcher for you.
Well, I don't have to use the Niners, but I could use one of their rivals.
Let me guess where you're going.
The best thing that happened for the 49ers is what the Rams did at number 13. Some guy named Ty Simpson got drafted.
Yep.
Yes, they traded for Trent McDuffie. Awesome acquisition. As a Niners fan, I'm very worried about that. But as a Niner fan, I'm also saying, way to go, Les Snead. You the man. Did you see the press conference with Sean McVay and Les Snead after that pick?
It's like Sean McVay never met the kid.
That was awkward. And then John Lynch talking trash, by the way, which he absolutely does not need to do. John Lynch should be more concerned about the 49ers than the Rams. So not only was his draft not very good, but now you're talking trash about, the Rams picking Ty Simpson at 13. You didn't have to do that publicly. That was a little bit of a immature thing for John Lynch to do. Who's a very charming, funny guy and a good general manager, but not wise. But nevertheless, the biggest head scratcher for me was Ty Simpson going number 13 to the Rams. From a draft analyst standpoint, you could have gotten him late in the first round. The Jets were going to trade up to the first round to get him. The Rams could have done the same thing. They're kind of an F those pick kind of team. So if you wanted to draft Ty Simpson late first round, early second round, that I could understand. I could see that. You could have traded up to get him then. To get him at number 13 when you're in a Super Bowl window, when you had it in the needs, you have Mekhi Lemon right there for you.
Yep.
That's a good succession plan for Devontae Adams if they want to move on with him, which they've tried. Mekhi Lemon could have slotted in there. You could have gone with additional offensive line help. for Matthew Stafford, who's not getting any younger, not the most mobile quarterback to begin with. A lot of things the Rams could have done, but still maybe gotten their quarterback of the future later in the draft. So I give the Rams a D on that one. But yeah, to me, the most head scratching pick was Ty Simpson from a draft analyst standpoint. But from a 49ers fan standpoint, way to go, Les Snead. No freaking Niners on this one. More freaking Rams if you're a Rams fan. Norm, our buddy, is a little bit confused by the pick. A few of the Rams fans I know, like, what? We did that? But it seems like the Rams were utilizing the currency they built up with Rams fans. And be careful about that because when you think you have currency and you feel like that currency allows you to make a pick that maybe you shouldn't have made, that's where you start to get into trouble.
Yeah, just on the Rams for a second before we get Marvin, let's stick with the Rams just for a minute. Marvin, what did you think of the Rams draft?
Ooh, and this was the first time that so it's an organization that's one of those model organization when it comes to drafting players. Especially they have an outstanding scouting department. They have a process in place, and that process allows them to make great picks, right? Especially later in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
This one, from the beginning to the end, they weren't on the same page, and you never see that with them. Like you never see that, right? But they for whatever reason, it's almost like they decided what they were going to do, and then when it came time to make picks, it's like Les just went off on his own thing, and they that's just not how they do business.
Right.
And McVay was left to try to answer questions where he was sitting there looking confused as well because he didn't understand why they did what they did. Don't get me wrong, they definitely do need you definitely need someone to come in and prep for quarterback play, right? You have to because Stafford barely, they had to have him come back last year. His back was still messed up. That's not getting better. You signed him to a 2-year deal, and you definitely need to groom somebody else. So I 100% get that. I really do. I get that part. But but it was a reach. It was a reach to go for Simpson. And then it just got worse from there. And then they didn't have that many picks to begin with. They only had like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it
they
didn't
had
get
5
any
picks.
better.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And the only one I liked was C.J. Daniels out of Miami, the wide receiver.
Yes. Other than that, it was like, what are y'all doing? Because you didn't have that many holes to begin with, but you needed to shore up the back of your defense. You really needed to put some work on your defense because the line was getting burnt out, and you took no corners. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. No safeties, no corners.
And by the way, along those lines, adding the dynamic of Puka Nacua and some of the offseason issues that he had, obviously he's awesome on the field, but off the field, a lot of speculation about his contract coming up, and the Rams don't want players in the building that aren't high character, that don't stay out of trouble. They're a button-up organization, usually very conservative, led by Stan Kroenke, who doesn't talk very much, one of those owners you see but don't hear from, which is always a good thing. I just with that situation kind of up in the air as far as his Puka Nacua going to learn from his off-field mistakes combined with the obvious on-field talent. He does play a very physical style, so I feel like drafting Mekhi Lemon was a no-brainer, but the Rams had to put their brain in on this one and maybe overthought themselves a little bit, which is very unusual to Marvin's point for the Rams to do that.
I'm going to say something contrarian. Obviously, we know how good of an organization the Rams are. I can't figure out how they're good. Everything, and I mean everything that organization does is ass backwards. Everything. Go all the way back to the hiring of Sean McVay. Sean McVay was a mediocre, at best, offensive coordinator with Washington. He wasn't lighting the world on fire with that offense. So the pick, when they now he's gone on to be, arguably a Hall of Fame coach. So good for them. Even that, just out of left field, just a strange hire in the moment. Because he was on nobody's radar because he wasn't anything special as an OC in Washington. They sit all of their starters. I mean, that's ass backwards. They sit all of their starters during the preseason. I can sort of get some of that. But they do it consistently. Not many teams ever do that. They'll sit their starters for the majority of the preseason, but they want their starters to get live looks in game conditions and not just controlled joint practices. The way they do that, ass backwards. They don't do any 30 visits. They're the only team in the National Football League that doesn't. That is ass backwards. So no wonder he, McVay didn't have much to say about Ty Simpson. He's probably never met the kid. Nobody goes into their building. That's ass backwards. I think Sean McVay might be the only coach in the league that doesn't go to the combine. They don't do that. Everything that organization does is ass backwards, yet they win. I wouldn't recommend it for any other organization. They have what they have over there, and it works very well for them. They've had a lot of success, but I cannot figure out how that team wins. I really can't, because everything they do is backwards. I'll get your thoughts on what I just said, but Marvin, we'll start with you.
Okay, so so I will have to agree to disagree, just because it's definitely unconventional, right? It really is. It's definitely unconventional, and is not for every team, right? It's really not. And the crazy thing about it is, and I hate to say it, but we mirror them almost down to a T, right? We didn't send any head coaches to the combine this year. We didn't do any of the 30-30 visits this year, which was the process already put in place by the Rams when Gladstone was there, right? And then he was Les's right hand man. So with that, he's brought up those processes to Jacksonville last year, especially with it being such a short time. They went to the combine. We brought players in for the 30-30 visits, and I think we got an outstanding draft last year. This year, we followed the Rams model to a T, and I look at it and I go, I hope the scouting department was really on it, because I don't get taken. You didn't just take one tight end. You took you took an inline blocker, and then you went back and you got another tight end who's a receiving tight end. So it was like almost you could have swapped both of them and still picked them in the same spots and been all right. But not to harp on that. So we will see. We will definitely see what the Rams do, because they didn't have that many holes. I mean, to be honest, they really didn't.
No,
they didn't have that many holes. But
and they took another tight end. They have 3 good tight ends. What are they going to play? 4 tight ends on the field? They took Clark out of Ohio State.
So but there was a theme. There was a theme in this draft where you had quite a few teams who doubled down on tight ends, like a lot. So I'm interested to see whose model, because it's nothing but a copycat league, to see whose model everybody is following as far as tight ends go, because you saw a lot of teams taking 2 tight ends, which was very interesting to me. But yeah, just to follow up with what you said, yes, they are very unconventional, and this is the first time I can say that they were uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard unless they really hit on all of those picks to be to defend those. And now we have a little chink in the armor between McVay and Les Snead, which we've never seen before. They were always a united front. So there could be some issues in LA outside of what goes on the field.
Absolutely. Steve, what do you your thoughts on and again, it's not a knock on the Rams, because what they do works. I don't know how it works, but what they do works.
It works.
And Marvin's right. The brain trust in Jacksonville is all LA Rams. Cohen came from the Rams too. So so you're right. The GM, the coach, I mean, it's like the Green Bay Packers down in Miami. But it's Steve, what your thoughts on what I said about the Rams and the way they do business? Now it works for them. I'm not knocking them. It's just I can't figure out how the hell it works.
Well, I wrote an article in my Substack account about the top 5 organizations in the NFL. I had the Rams in my top 5.
Yep.
I agree with you that Sean McVay was working with Kyle Shanahan in Washington at the time. Both of them got the job. Shanahan went to San Francisco. Sean McVay ended up with the Rams. Sean McVay sells himself very, very well and has proved to be a good head coach, although like Kyle Shanahan, sometimes his late game Sometimes Sean McVay's late game decision making can be questioned, how they go about things like the game against the Rams, the game against the 49ers, the first game of the season last season, where Sean McVay did stuff as a 49ers fan that I was pleased about, but as a Rams fan, I was thinking, why is he doing that? Doesn't make much sense. Not go to the run when he could have in certain situations and things of that nature. So he's not a perfect head coach, but he's turned out to be pretty good. But I think for the Rams, this Ty Simpson pick may be where those weaknesses or that unconventionality may come to the forefront. And drafting a tight end too, I guess you're going to go to a 14 personnel, like a 13
Yeah,
personnel,
I
three
mean,
tight ends, a
they have
14.
three good tight ends in LA.
I don't know how they're going to pull that off. I mean, a football field is big, but it's only so big. I don't know how you're going to deal with that. On the one hand, yes, you want blockers for your running game. On the other hand, you also have to give space and the ability to maneuver, to adjust, to work around quick defensive players that are coming at you who are athletic, quick, who can adjust on the fly as well. I don't know how that's going to work in a 14 personnel. We will see. But at the end of the day, this Ty Simpson pick might be the pick that ultimately shows a weakness for the Rams, and they've done a good job of covering up, but maybe that's about to come to the forefront because it seems like the currency they have as an organization, and they're a very good organization, as I alluded to before, considering them a top five organization, that might be under the gun, or that might be up for further discussion based on how the Rams handled this draft.
Yep. All right, let's move off the Rams for a minute. Marvin, who was your head scratcher team of the draft?
So my head scratcher team in the draft was the Minnesota Vikings. Right, that was my head scratcher, and the reason was, but first of all, I'm a Florida guy, right, born and raised. However,
Yep.
I know you don't take Gators in the first round, right? They just don't produce. They don't produce, especially defensive linemen. They really don't produce in the first round, right? You just don't
And
do
a
that.
hurt defensive lineman at that.
Exactly. So you go and you get Caleb Banks. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, we all know you need a safety. We all know about Harrison Smith. And I'm like, okay, Cinnamon is the clone. He is there for the taking. Everybody's already said that you were going to get this guy. You brought him in. We know he fits your defense to a mold, what you're going to do. And they take Caleb Banks and let Cinnamon go to the Bears, a division rival at pick 25. Makes no sense. No, but then the safety that you do go and pick up, don't get me wrong, my Miami guy, love my Miami guy. However, he's not. Jacoby Thomas is not a cover safety. He's an inbox, come down, thumper. That's what he is. He is not a cover guy. Harrison Smith was a cover guy for you. He did everything. That was the head scratcher for me. And I don't think they did well at all, especially with their first round pick. And then just looking at the remainder of their draft, yeah, I wasn't impressed. But they were my head scratching team. I wasn't impressed at all.
Yep. I agree. I mean, Caleb Banks just had to get his foot reevaluated, and they made a
Man,
they made a big deal about how healthy he is, how it's fine, this and that. I think Caleb Banks still had a low second round grade on him. So that kind of confused me a little bit. Um, I'm a little I'm a little torn on where I want to go for my biggest disappointment. Um, for their first picks, I did not like, and it's not the player I didn't like, it was the fit at the moment. Jeremiah Love, going to be a great running back. No doubt about it. This is
oh
not
yeah,
about the
yeah,
player. I mean, the guy's a beast in every
right,
sense of the word. But fit, it felt very New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's a great player. The New York Giants weren't at a point when they drafted him
hmm,
to, it's a luxury pick.
yes,
Um, I didn't think Arizona was in a spot, despite the talent of Love. I think they could have gone in a completely different direction. I think they could have gone with somebody like Sonny Styles to be the captain of that defense for the next 10
yes,
years. They could have gone to Caleb Downs to be the captain of that defense for the next, for the next several years. They could have gone Arvell Reese to be the captain and be it, whether it's an edge rusher. He's kind of like a jackknife, a Swiss Army knife. He can do a little bit of everything. Off-ball linebacker, rusher, blitzer, spy. I didn't love the fit there. Similarly, now I know they need talent in Tennessee. I don't like the fit of Carnell Tate where he was drafted. Carnell Tate is a very safe receiver.
Yep.
He checks a lot of the boxes. He's going to be a very nice weapon for Cam Ward. Again, I think they could have used. I mean, Brian Daboll must be all over Robert Saleh and in his ear. I really couldn't see the fit. But the team that I thought, really reached because they panicked because there was a phone call screw up because of a trade between Dallas and Philly of everybody.
Oh yeah.
I think Pittsburgh peed their pants.
Yes, they did.
I really do. I think they were left scrambling. They wanted the kid from SC Lemon. They were on the phone with him when Philly called. The strangest damn thing. But I really think Pittsburgh reached for Hichinor, the tackle.
I actually hope that he would land to the Niners at number 27. I think he's a really good player.
Overdrafted.
To your point, he had a lower first-round grade, so the Niners picking him at 27 would have made sense, but not so much the Steelers at 21, considering there were other options they could have gone with. At that particular spot, there was a little bit more depth available to them, but they went with Iannacore at 21. I was a little bit surprised by that as well because I thought he would fall to the late first round where the Niners could have gotten him at 27.
Yeah. I was a little confused. He has flashes. People who've watched Alabama, I've seen Jeremy Bernard drop a lot of passes. Maybe it was just the games that I watched. I thought that was, for where they picked him, I didn't love Bernard in that spot. They picked Penn State quarterback Drew Aller. Now, yes, they need a quarterback. I heard they do
that
like
could
the
be
kid.
A good value pick for them. So
it could be.
I didn't have an issue with that one.
They do like Will Howard. So if even if King Rogers decides not to come back, they'll have a little bit of a quarterback room there. I don't mind it just because of who their head coach is. We know he can develop quarterbacks. So whoever they took. One of my favorite picks in the draft, though, and this is where I'll give the Steelers credit. Iowa offensive lineman Jennings Dunker and all that hair.
Yeah.
He's kind of become an internet sensation.
That's a great name,
Look,
too.
You can
Dunker.
never, and I mean never, go wrong. I don't care what team you root for. If you drafted a lineman out of Iowa, you hit the jackpot.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a factory.
Wisconsin, Iowa,
the big
Michigan,
those big Big Ten
school.
But Iowa seems to do it better than everybody else. I
mean, you get an Iowa lineman, that's 13 years easy.
Iowa just does it better than everyone else.
The best offensive line conference is the Big Ten.
It is, and Iowa is just
especially in the northern tier states. So
Iowa's the king of that.
I loved Dunker going to Pittsburgh, but I thought Pittsburgh may have reached a little bit where they were.
By the way, do you think the 49ers draft? Do you think 49ers do enough scouting of offensive linemen in the Big Ten? I just wonder about that. Freaking Niners.
Yeah,
I mean, overall,
I don't mean to keep harping on this, but I mean, my Lord, the Big Ten, it's right there in front of you.
Well, anyway, they scout quarterbacks in the old Big 12 with Iowa State. So,
that's very good point, Jack. Iowa State is in Iowa, which not in the Big Ten, but Big Ten adjacent.
Coach Matt Campbell, formerly, but
Matt Campbell,
and that's exactly why. I mean, I loved our draft. You guys seem a little bit more lukewarm on your own team's draft. We really got to be careful. I mean, Brock Purdy is a perfect example. Who the hell saw him coming? I mean, how good? Even Steve with your squad, Dre Greenlaw when he played for the Niners. What was he, a 5th-round pick?
Mm-hmm.
George Kittle.
George Kittle was a 5th-round pick.
You don't know where you're going to strike gold.
Yeah, actually, the Niners do well with lower round picks. They do well mid-level. It's just the top 2 rounds. I think if they had gotten the top 2 rounds a little bit better, or if they'd done a better job in the higher rounds, they might have won a Super Bowl by now. They've been to a
Yep.
couple Super Bowls, but they might have actually won a Super Bowl by now if they do a better job in the higher rounds, or as good of a job as in the higher rounds as they do in the middle rounds.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Like I'm not upset about Jags draft. I just don't the the second round pick, our first pick in the second round wasn't a name guy, right? So
Mhm.
he wasn't a name guy, and the position is what threw me off. The position of going tight end when we know that we needed to get another safety. We definitely know we needed to get a linebacker. So and the dude from Texas was there. So I'm like, come on, I know you're gonna take Hill. Hill was there. So
Yep.
the fact that they went tight end first, don't get me wrong. There's something about him that other people haven't seen. And I definitely trust our brain trust and our evaluators. I really do. It's just
Yep.
that first pick I thought was going to be a need pick for us. And it turned out not being, but don't get me wrong. Overall, I did like our draft a lot. And I'm interested to see what they saw in him. Because I'm telling you, if he does turn out to be like George Kittle, I mean, man, we gonna be sick. We are going to be
Yeah.
sick as that. And I agree with you. Pittsburgh couldn't get it together. It was like after their first pick
That
that
whole
they
thing threw
wanted
them off.
when Lemon was gone, they just couldn't get it together after that. They really couldn't, even though they tried to stick as close as possible to their board, I'm assuming. But they were off. You're right. They were off and they couldn't regroup themselves.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you with Arizona. That was just a bone. That was head scratching, man. It didn't make sense. I get because you could have took anybody. You were
Yep.
in a position to take anybody
Yeah.
that you wanted. And you just restructured Connor. You got Tyler Algier, and now you just added another running back that you didn't need to add
Yeah.
when you could have added when you had other spots. They're the team that for some reason is to me in my mind, I always think of Buda Baker, but their team is like the smallest team in the NFL, and that's just their
Yeah.
form. They just
Yep.
stay small and quick.
Yep.
That's
They
it.
are.
So
They are. I do
so
like the
they
Vitsionis pick. They did get the guard out of A&M.
yeah,
I really liked him.
yeah.
I wanted him to go to San Francisco, actually. And you guys all know this. We have to keep in mind as fans, um, there's players that we want, and then there's
Right.
players, you know, you never draft for need. Fans draft for need. And when you
Yeah.
start drafting for need, you're going to get fired. These teams draft for value. I think, I'll give a silver lining to both of you gentlemen. You both had playoff teams last year. So your
Yeah.
brain trust deserves the benefit of the doubt that they know what the hell they're doing.
Mhm.
I kind of, called the Rams ass backwards before. That's not a knock on the Rams because what they do works.
Right.
All I'm saying
Right.
is you shouldn't model your franchise after what the hell they do because everything they do is backwards. Um, but it works for them. However
It
it
does.
works. And it works very well because they win a lot. Um, so, there was that. Marvin, you're a Miami fan, maybe, a Miami Hurricanes fan. Maybe you've seen
Hmm.
this. Maybe this is just his personality. And I'll ask you both this. On Thursday night, was there a more
Hmm.
pissed off human being on the planet than Reuben Bain Jr.?
Oh,
Did you see the
oh,
way my guy walked out?
yeah.
He didn't stop in no
Oh, yeah.
damn mirror. He didn't want to.
No,
He grabbed
no.
his cap and kept on walking.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, he was, no, definitely has a chip on his shoulder, major chip on his shoulder. I think, and usually you try to tell players don't take things personally, right? But I think he really, so, I mean, you talking about one of the best defensive linemen in all of college football, right?
Yep.
Period. And I think
Yep.
he really took offense to them going after him having short arms and going into the combine and them talking a whole lot of smack. I think he really, really took offense to that. And I think it's some teams in the NFC that's about to pay.
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely.
about to pay.
I'm going to throw something out there. I saw something on Twitter. Andrew Brandt was on the Ross Tucker podcast, and he said something very interesting, which I hadn't really thought about before. He said the NIL in college is killing rounds 4 through 7 of the NFL draft.
Mhm.
Killing, because players who might not necessarily have gone earlier are going earlier, while these other guys want to be professional student athletes. The quarterback Dante Moore, Trinidad Chambliss, so on and
Mhm.
so forth. What are your thoughts? And I mean, how many times did I have to hear about Mesidor being 25 years old? I must have heard
Right.
that. Now, I
Right.
watch the NFL Network's thing of the draft because I just can't take ESPN seriously. I can't. So
Mhm.
I watched NFL Network with Klatt and Jeremiah and Charles Davis and Rich Eisen. So I think they do a bang up job with the NFL draft. What are your thoughts on the NIL? Now I know that's going to change. Is
Mhm.
it killing the lower rounds of the draft, boys?
I think it's killing the entire draft, right? Because what you have now is you have and look at us, even with the tight end that we took, right? Using us for an example. They made a point to stress that, he played 6 years in college. So what you have is, even when you talk about your top picks, right? Your first round picks, are you drafting somebody that's already at their ceiling? Or do you have somebody that can still reach another level, right? Because they've been in college, they've played for 4, 5, 6 years now. Have they already reached their peak, or do they have more that you can add to them? So that affects your first couple of rounds. But then when you get, like you said, down to the fourth, all the way down to the seventh, yes, NIL is killing it. It is killing the talent that you have available that's coming out. And when it does come out, like I said, have they reached their ceiling already, or am I a guy that I already know the person in front of me? He don't plan on leaving no time soon. That they bringing somebody else in, so I need to run and jump in the draft now. And I
Yep.
didn't get the chance to develop, but I got an opportunity to play, and somebody saw me, so I'm going to jump out. So now you got players that aren't ready, that are going to be projects, or you got players that have already reached their ceiling, and there's nowhere else for them to go. You've seen the best of what they have. Um, so yeah, it's an issue. It's a big issue, and not only that, if you really take a deeper look at it, you killing high school football. You killing it. You are killing high school football. Why would I go take a three? If I'm not a 5 or 4 star, why would I go take a 2 or 3 star that I know I got to develop and groom and get them ready in the program, when I can just transfer somebody in? Like, I'm not
Yep.
even looking at high school because I'm transferring guys in, and
Yep.
and it's killing. It's for the first time since Cristobal's been there. We actually got a high school player to commit, a 5 star quarterback to come to mind. We've
Yep.
been getting quarterbacks out of the transfer portal using
Hmm.
NIL. We haven't groomed any quarterbacks, and yes, I think it's killing college football. It's killing high school football, but it's definitely affecting the NFL.
Yep. Now the NIL is going to change, thanks to what the
Yes.
government did, and I think that's for the better. Steve, what are your thoughts on the NIL as it relates to the NFL draft as we currently stand? We
Mhm.
can't talk about the future because we know things are going to change. What are your thoughts on Andrew Brandt's comments to Ross Tucker that the NIL is killing the later half of the NFL draft?
It's a great question on your part, and this is a podcast I should probably listen to more often. I'm going to say to Andrew Brandt, the NFL draft is once a year. The NFL is a year-round business. Yes, are guys staying in college? They are. Or staying longer in college? They are. I actually think that's a good thing. When I look at the NBA, we often talk about our guys coming out too early. Now in the NFL, we talk about quarterbacks. How much experience did you get? How many defenses did they see? How many different situations were they put into? Guys that started for 1 year versus guys that started for 4 years. 1 year like Trey Lance, or 4 years like Brock Purdy, someone of that ilk. Yes, it's not good for the draft in particular. That being said, the draft is not the be all end all of the NFL year. It's the games, it's the quality of the games. And I would argue, Jack and Marvin, that the quality of the games is not as good as it used to be. I think the coaching isn't as good as it used to be. I think the scouting isn't as good as it used to be. Now you've got guys that are coming out later because they are making money in college, which is a good thing, even though it's the wild, wild west right now and it needs to change, to your point, Jack. I think the more reps guys get in college, the more likely they might be able to successful pros. You asked a question, Marvin, have they reached their ceiling? We don't know, but this is where coaching, scouting, being flexible, adjusting, moving guys around, like let's try him here, let's try him here. You have an off-season program, the OTAs, you got preseason, you got all these things. The coaches and the scouts probably have to work a little bit harder now because guys are staying in college longer, because your talent pool isn't as great in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh rounds. But I think the more reps you get in college, the more experience you get in college, especially in conferences like the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, whatever the Pac-12 is going to become, the major conferences out there. I actually think that's a good thing in terms of being ready to go when you come into the NFL, even if it might have a short-term effect on the NFL draft. It just means scouts and coaches and general managers and front offices have to work a little bit harder, maybe be a little bit better at their jobs. And I think what has happened in the NFL over the past 10 years.
Awesome. Another kind of a random thought. We know Mendoza is Mendoza, and we've already talked extensively about Ty Simpson. Let's talk about a couple of other quarterbacks, and I'm going to ask you guys both this question. Drew Aller ended up round 3 or 4 with the Steelers, and out of Penn State, and Carson Beck out of Miami ended up going to the Arizona Cardinals. Who's in a better situation? I don't know who I started with last time. Steve, you're on my screen. We'll start with you. Who's in a better situation out of those two quarterbacks? I mean, I think poor Garrett Nussmeier is still waiting to hear his name called. I know he went to the Chiefs, but and he's already better than Justin Fields. But anywho, Carson Beck and Drew Aller. Who's in a better situation?
Where did Carson Beck get drafted?
Carson Beck ended up with the Cardinals.
Yeah, Arizona.
Oh, he did.
And Aller is with Pittsburgh. Who's in a better situation?
I've got to go with Pittsburgh.
Why?
For starters, one, Pittsburgh's a better overall franchise than the Cardinals are. Let's start with that. Secondly, Aaron Rodgers might have 1 year left. Aller gets a steady. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers is not going to talk to Drew Aller that much, but the one thing Aaron Rodgers can't stop Drew Aller from is studying Aaron Rodgers in terms of how he prepares, how he manages the huddle, how he performs on the field. You can observe all that, even if Aaron Rodgers may not verbally take Drew Aller under his wing, or maybe he will. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers has changed. Human beings can change.
If he's coming back, and who knows?
Even Aaron Rodgers could change. I think absolutely that Drew Aller is in a better position than Carson Beck because the franchise is better. He's got a better quarterback to learn from. He's got a head coach. You've talked about it, Mike McCarthy, who's as good as anybody at developing a quarterback and developing an offense and running an offense. That's a no-brainer for me. It's Drew Aller with Pittsburgh over Carson Beck at Arizona by far.
Now I'm going to ask the Canes fan the same question. Who's in a better spot, Drew Aller out of Penn State or your beloved Carson Beck? Well, I don't know about beloved. I don't know how big of a fan you were. Carson Beck from the U and from Georgia before that.
Definitely not a super duper Carson Beck fan, but of course he definitely played for the U. To be honest with you, my honest opinion right off the top of my head, they both ended up in great spots, right? And this is the reason why I say that. They both will have veteran quarterbacks if Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to play this year. They'll both be behind veteran quarterbacks because Arizona will get Jacoby straightened out, right? So you have great veterans to learn from. So there's really no pressure to be out there on the field at least this year. I think at first glance you would definitely want to say Aller just because he's a Penn guy, so he's a Pennsylvania guy. They love their Pennsylvania guys. And McCarthy will get him ready, right? McCarthy will spend that time. He would develop him. He would get him ready. However, at the same time, Carson Beck went to a situation where LaFleur has to make a name for himself outside of his brother. He is an offensive-minded guy. This was the offensive coordinator that came from the Rams, right? So you're not talking to somebody that doesn't know quarterbacks or how to develop quarterbacks or how to get quarterbacks ready. And he has something to prove because he needs to make a name for himself. So I think they both ended up in really great situations. But if I had to, if I had a bone in it, I would take the young guy. I would definitely roll with I'll roll with Arizona. I think he has a really good chance to develop. He's prototypical. He really is, and he's been in big games, right? Like Aller hasn't been in big games. Like he's been in big games constantly, consistently. So
Yep.
in a NFL ready, Beck is ready. Should have
Yep.
came out when he left. Should have came out from Georgia. So all the floor has to do is not mess him up, but get him ready to go out there and win for Arizona. And between the two of them, if between the two of them, I can see Carson Beck seeing the field at some point next year.
Yeah.
Or this
Hey,
season.
Wow, this is
hey,
hard
hey,
because
Marvin, if you say don't get me wrong, I'm getting you wrong on that one. I think you were trying very, very hard to be complimentary of Carson Beck, and you should be. But going to Arizona over Drew Aller going to Pittsburgh, I'm getting you wrong on that one, buddy. I'll tell you that right now.
you see,
Well, I mean,
and the reason I asked the
go ahead.
question
I'm
because
just, I'm just,
I don't
messing,
think
I'm
it's
just
an
giving
easy
you a hard
answer.
time, actually.
There's
But
pros and cons.
yeah.
Let's for Carson Beck, he's going with a young offensive mind. He's got a great running back there. Maybe he gets the
Mike
most out
Shula,
of
yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mhm.
Out there in the desert. They have some pieces. They do, and Carson Beck definitely is more seasoned than Drew Aller. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
But
I'll add something when you're done about the
but
Cardinals. Actually, you might be
so
surprised
all of
by.
Marvin's points are spot on.
Yeah.
He's been in a pro system without being a pro. First at Georgia, then at Miami, went to the national championship. I know he's got a little thing for the honeys and the porn stars. So if he puts his mind to it and he really wants to play football, I think it could be a great pick. But Drew Aller, who I was not a fan. I'm a Penn State fan. I was not a fan of Drew Aller. Most of that was Franklin's fault because he never met a two-star wide receiver at Penn State that he didn't love. What a friggin' disgrace. James Franklin, the gift that keeps on giving at Penn State. Anywho, what Steve said is true. He's gone to a quarterback whisperer, a guy who's an organization that is one of the model organizations. Arizona's not. An organization that has Mike McCarthy, who knows what, day one. I mean, it was through injury. Day one, he got Dak Prescott in the game against the Giants at home because Tony Romo was hurt at the time. 4th-round pick, Dak Prescott out of Mississippi State. And say what you want about Dak, he's a very good NFL quarterback. Very good. So I like Aller's situation in Pittsburgh because of where he is. I'm going to be biased here. I cannot, in any circumstances, ever vote for Drew Aller as the best at anything, so I'm going to go with Carson Beck. But that's more heart than head on my part. Steve, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I was just busting Marvin's chops.
It's all good. It's all good.
I think Carson Beck could
Well, we
be
can't
a
sit here and
quality
agree
NFL
with each other all day.
quarterback.
That would be boring.
And I think
Right.
well, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've never busted Marvin's chops, so I just did there. So I could cross that off my podcast bucket list, busting Marvin's chops over evaluating one of his Miami quarterbacks, Miami players, but I digress. All joking aside, I actually think that the Arizona Cardinals had a better draft than my 49ers. I mean, drafting Jeremiah Love at number 3 surprised me, but that could turn out to be a great pick. And if Carson Beck turns out to be a good quarterback and they unlock Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Mike LaFleur there, who comes from the Rams and who's the brother of Matt LaFleur, who's a pretty good head coach, albeit he can't get his team past a certain round in the playoffs, but I digress again. Yeah, I think Arizona had a better overall draft than my Niners did. I'm sure my fellow Niner fans would be like, Steve, what are you talking about? You're supposed to be a homer. Like, no, I'm very, very honest. Been very honest about the freaking Niners throughout this entire show. But I think the Cardinals actually had a pretty good draft, and they got players that, if they work out, could really bolster the Cardinals over the next few years if Mike LaFleur proves to be a good head coach, which he absolutely has a chance to coming out of the Sean McVay coaching tree.
So, and just to add, I just want to add this. So long term, let me say this: long term prospect, I would take Aller all day, right? Just because I mean, I've seen him play, I've seen him hold the ball, but long term prospect, I would take Aller, right? Because we got to remember, Carson Beck had UCL surgery, right? And last year, some of those long balls were horrible. They were horrible, right? So long-term prospect, I would take Aller, but I also would push back to this. Um, and I want to put this question to both of you gentlemen. Are these the same Pittsburgh Steelers that they used to be? Like, would we have even said
Yeah,
Pittsburgh would have
that's a
would have
good
let
question.
Tomlin walk out the door, right? Would we have Pittsburgh to be such a steady franchise, a historic franchise, and we've already looked at them to be one of the pole setters, right? You're waiting
Yeah,
on Aaron Rodgers to come back to play quarterback for you. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah.
I mean, seriously though, seriously, you are betting, you hedging all your bets on bringing Aaron Rodgers back, right? And I'm sorry, but I saw that defense last year, and last year they fell apart.
Yeah.
They fell when they made it to the playoffs. Who cared? Nobody even wanted to watch that game.
Yep.
Between them and Baltimore, we saw two historic franchises falling off a cliff. When they played each other to play that game to get into the playoffs, yeah, the score was what it was, but really, it was one of those things where you were ready for that to be over. It
Yeah.
was horrible to watch. It was not good
Yep.
football. So, I
It's
mean, they used to be a historic franchise, but right now, something's not right. Something's not right in Pittsburgh, and they got to get it fixed. So I think, but the player with the most pressure on them, though, could turn out to be Allen. Because if
Yep.
Something happens to Rodgers and he has to step up and play, it could be
Yep.
a problem because he's not ready. He got to
yeah,
get ready. And they're going to be those Pennsylvania fans are going to be itching to see him get a chance,
Oh
right?
yeah. Right
Where
down the road.
in Arizona, the pressure's on Love. Love got to produce them.
Yep.
It'll be just like when we watched the Raiders last year. We didn't care what anybody else did, but we wanted to see what Gentry did. So
And he
no
did nothing
pressure's on
because they had no
Carson Beck.
offensive line. You know.
Exactly.
they go number 3 in the draft as a running back, and we all know how the league
Exactly.
feels about
Steve,
running
why don't you
backs.
field Marvin's question?
Yeah, I actually feel like that's a very good point by Marvin. I mean, overall, looking at it from a macro point of view, if you put Pittsburgh and Arizona in front of the average NFL fan and ask them what the better overall franchise, it'd probably be Pittsburgh 9 out of 10 times. That being said, when you look a little bit deeper below the surface, Omar Khan, the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not sure how much of a future he has in Pittsburgh and what Art Rudy might decide to move on from him because I'm not sure Omar Khan has handled these Pittsburgh Steelers drafts very well since Ben Roethlisberger left, since Antonio Brown left, Le'Veon Bell. We all saw the drama, at the end of those guys' tenure with Pittsburgh, particularly with Brown and to a degree with Roethlisberger. So, but ever since then, the Steelers have been kind of ordinary. Their drafts haven't been very good. That's the responsibility of Omar Khan in the front office. I think our Rudy at some point, I think hiring Mike McCarthy was good. I think drafting Aller in the 3rd round can be good in terms of McCarthy developing him and if Aaron Rodgers come back. But you have a point, Marvin, that Pittsburgh, from a macro point of view, always looks good, steady franchise, very patient with their head coaches, the most patient team in North America with their head coaches by
Yep.
far. That being said, I do feel like their drafting over the years has tailed off. Omar Khan's a big reason for that, and maybe Mike Tomlin's influence on him. I'm not really sure. Perhaps they weren't on the same page, like Sean McVay and Les Snead with the Ty Simpson pick in this particular draft. So, but now Tomlin is out. Omar Khan brings in Mike McCarthy, but this draft not the best in terms of how they handle that. Maybe Aller will turn out to be great, but that's a fair point. So, from a going forward standpoint, it might be Arizona is in a better position to grow as a franchise under their current administration than maybe Pittsburgh is under the current administration of Omar Khan.
Yep. I'm going to answer the question this way. I think it would be in Pittsburgh's best interest to tell Aaron Rodgers, thanks, but we're moving on. Let Will Howard and Drew Aller battle it out and have a 4-win season. I
Yeah.
think that is needed in Pittsburgh. You need a hard reset in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They're always, quote unquote, we give Tomlin all this praise, and deservedly so, that they're always a winning team. They're always this. They're always 9-8. They're always 10-7, and they're always gone in the first weekend of the damn playoffs.
Kind of middling, yeah.
They're good enough to be just above mediocre every year. They're good enough to be above mediocre, but they're not a contender. I think the best thing they could do this year is let the two kids, Howard and Aller, have a competition, see what you got, have a 4 or 5 win season, and get yourself a really great draft pick in a loaded 2027 draft.
Yes.
And then if neither of these kids are the answers, and and they both may not be. Now you're looking at Arch Manning and Julian Sayin and Dante Moore. Now you're cooking with gas. In terms of the quarterback position, but that's just me. I know we're running out of time here. Let's quickly jump to the NBA. Steve, I know you're in your Lakers regalia. Come on, lay it on me. What do we got in the NBA, Steve?
We got the Lakers doing the impossible. I have to freely admit that I didn't think I feel like the pundits. I mean, yeah, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, they go out with injury. That's your starting backcourt. And then the questions were asked about LeBron James. Can LeBron James go from a number 3 to a number 1? I've had my issues with LeBron James in terms of how the Lakers have built the roster around him since the 2020 championship season that I think broke right for the Lakers in terms of what happened that year, a very unique set of circumstances, as we discussed on our group text yesterday, Jack, having a nice discussion back and forth. That being said, to ask the question if LeBron James can step up in the playoffs shows that maybe these people don't know what they're talking about. I mean, he is in the discussion for the greatest player of all time. That's not accidental. Yep. He is the all-time leading scorer. He's also awesome at putting other players in position to be successful with his passing. He might be a guy that scores more than 40,000 points and has near 10,000 assists. I have to look it up. I mean, that's just phenomenal. LeBron James has put this team on their back. Jackson Hayes has been amazing as a defensive center, providing a little bit of scoring. Rui Hachimura has played very well. And Marcus Smart, my God, he is a defensive terror, particularly in the fourth quarter. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Are you talking about Boston Celtics Marcus Smart as a Laker? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just like, hey, you might recall a player named Rajon Rondo who played an integral role on the Lakers winning a 2020 championship. Listen, I respected Larry Bird too. Yes, I hate him as a Celtic, but you can respect him if they were a Celtic. Marcus Smart is a bulldog defender, locks guys up in the fourth quarter, can make the three. Not always consistent with the three as much as I'd like him to be, but what a bulldog defender he is. He's playing the same role for this Laker team with LeBron that Rajon Rondo played for the Lakers during that 2020 championship season going into 2021 before they foolishly let him get away. I don't know if the pundits were picking for the Rockets or picking against the Lakers, but I really believe that the pundits really underestimated this Laker team that has as much character and resilience as any Laker team that I have ever watched in the 40-plus years that I have been a Laker fan. It's just been amazing to watch. I don't predict them to win a championship. If they go to the second round at OKC, they're probably going to lose in 4 or 5 games. That being said, you cannot question the resilience of this team, the character of this team, and quite frankly, I have to admit, I'm very impressed with what LeBron James has done, sublimating his ego and his game for the betterment of Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. But when they go out, becoming the player that he's always been, while unbelievably, with the pundits asking, well, can he be that player again? Of course he can be that player again. He spent half his career playing in the NBA Finals. That doesn't happen by accident, along with everything else. Massive kudos to the Lakers so far.
Yep, up 3-0. I didn't see that coming either. Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah, well, First, let me offer a little bit of pushback to Steve this morning. Let's not confuse ourselves here, gentlemen. Okay, the team they're playing is Kevin Durant playing tonight? Is Kevin Durant not playing tonight? So first of all, their whole offense is discombobulated because Kevin Durant has not been Kevin Durant at all so far in this playoffs, if he's played in the game or not. Second, don't get me wrong, Lakers are definitely a resilient team. No one saw them coming in to give out that sweep. But once again, with the caveat that Kevin Durant not healthy and playing every other game. But my eyes do not deceive me. LeBron James literally ran out of gas the other night. He had nothing left but hit that three. Like he cannot be the entire offense the way he used to be. In that fourth quarter, he was done. And I mean done. He had nothing left. But he did hit that three. So I'll give him that. But let's be realistic though. I mean, you're talking about a Houston Rockets team that's not the Houston Rockets that we've seen throughout the season. They still need some seasoning, and like I said, their veteran player is not healthy and or playing. So I have to take it with a grain of salt.
That's fair, Marvin. The only thing I would say is that you can say the same thing about the Lakers. I mean, they're missing their entire starting backcourt.
That's
And
true. That is true.
Reed Shepard, is a good shooter, hasn't had a particularly good series, and the Rockets have also had some turnover issues. Think about this: Houston dominated the offensive boards. You remember Pat Riley back in the day saying no rebounds, no rings. The Lakers should not be 3-0 in this series, up 3-0 in this series, based on how dominant Houston's been on the offensive boards. Yet with all those offensive boards that they've gotten, they haven't been able to score very well. They haven't been able to shoot very well. The Lakers defense part of that, especially Marcus Smart and Jackson Hayes, but the Lakers are still missing their starting backcourt, and Kevin Durant's still there against LeBron James. I think they've done a good job on him.
No, not really there.
Overall, I think given just the offensive rebound edge alone, you'd have to be even more impressed by what the Lakers have been able to do despite that disadvantage, overcoming that. But Houston has not been able to overcome some of their deficiencies in this series. The Lakers have been better when it comes to dealing with adversity than the Rockets have.
I think the Lakers have less pressure than the Rockets had going into this playoff. Nobody expected. They were like, okay, they got hot at the end. Okay, they're going into the playoffs. Okay, if they get put out in the first round, it'll be like, well, Luka was hurt. Reeves was hurt. It's okay. LeBron, we know he's not coming back. It would have been okay. So I think, but more pressure on Houston. Houston traded to get Kevin Durant. You were really good last year. This year, we expect you to take that next step and to hit that superstar playoff status. And they haven't done that. And unfortunately, like I said, if you swapped, if you put Kevin Durant, and if you had a healthy Kevin Durant and you had a not so healthy LeBron James, this would be 3-0 the other way. So I mean, it just is what it is. However, I still give props to the Lakers. No one saw them doing this, especially a sweep. No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
And if they pull that off, more props to them. But it is definitely still weird, Steve, to hear you giving Marcus Smart props.
Yes, it is.
That
was weird.
At the end of the day, great play is great play, and you recognize great play no matter what uniform they might have donned in the past. I hated Marcus Smart and Rajon Rondo as Celtics, but I've loved them as Lakers. Rick Fox, same thing. You remember Rick Fox came from Boston to the Lakers way back when and helped us win 3 straight championships back in the day. But this might be the first time where I've heard anybody say there's more pressure on the team the Lakers are going against than the Lakers, because usually the Lakers are always under pressure because they're the Lakers. So that's a very interesting take. One I particularly like, actually. But Marcus Smart has been everything advertised, and I'm glad he's a Laker. Love him on our side. Don't love him when he's a Celtic, but he's on our side now, and you have to embrace guys like that when they're doing what Marcus Smart is doing in this series.
Yes. So now let's get to the giant killers. Let's get to the giant killers now.
Yeah,
and that would be that would be. Oh yeah.
You got anything to say about the number 1 seeded Detroit Pistons out there, Marvin?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So let's get to my giant killers, Orlando Magic. Okay, first, I'll be honest. I will be non-biased honest. Yes, they underachieved. They underachieved this entire season. Health was not in their favor. I get it. The starting lineup that we envisioned going into the season had only played together for 23 games prior to the playoff starting. So I get that. It took the time for them to gel, get their defense together. But to be honest with you, they definitely shouldn't be an 8 seed. But I also think at the end of the season, when you start talking about teams maneuvering with the play-in and all that stuff to get favorable matchups, we definitely got a favorable matchup, especially with the number 1 team with their best player coming off of a serious injury, right? So I also have to put that in there. But at the same time, yes, sir, let's go. Magic ready to roll. And if we get past Detroit, because it's still early, if we get past Detroit, look out anybody, because I'm telling you, we are not, and the seeding does not represent what we should be.
Now, question: does the NBA reseed after the first round, or is Orlando locked in to play the 4-5 winner?
No, I don't think they do. They're bracketed. Because usually when you have brackets, that means they're locked in, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're locked in. Yeah, we're locked in. They don't reseed.
They're
Yeah.
definitely locked in. So because it's a bracket format as opposed to an open format.
Okay. All right. So
I'm
they
really
would be
impressed by
playing the
Paulo
winners
Banchero, by
of
the way.
Cleveland, uh, uh, Toronto,
All
if I'm
right.
not mistaken.
Right. Yes, yes, correct. And the NBA would love to see us go against Cleveland because that's a rivalry big time because they put us out. When Paulo first got there, they put us out. Um,
Yep.
we only won like one game. We won one game on their floor. We only won one game. So that's a big rivalry. So I know the NBA is definitely rooting for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kudos to the Magic.
props
Um,
to Franz Wagner, Marvin, having a really big series. I knew about Paulo Banchero as a really, really
Hmm.
good player, but Franz Wagner has really stepped up big in the series for Orlando so far.
Which is great because we literally got him back right at the play in. We got
Yeah.
him back like one game before the play in because he injured himself again. But yeah. Franz is the truth. Paulo Banchero has made me like I was really upset with him this season just because, dude, you are the biggest dude, strongest dude on the floor. Go to the
Mhm.
rack, man. I mean, use your size and dominate. And usually you'll see him trying to bring the ball up the floor. Why? That's going to end up being a turnover. Or you see him stepping out to shoot a three when you bigger than everybody. Just go to the rack. And this time he finally decided the other night it finally clicked for him that hey, I got to put the team on my shoulders. I got to show up, and he has so far, which is really good.
Yeah, very impressive so
it
far. I
is.
think Detroit, the takeaway for Detroit, no matter what happens, is that they have got to get a complimentary all-star beside Kate Cunningham. I think
Oh
Kate
yeah,
Cunningham
yeah,
has had an outstanding year as an MVP candidate, deservedly so. But they needed a complimentary all-star because when they had a guy like that, now you've got Kate Cunningham, your superstar, a complimentary all-star. They're well coached by JB Bickerstaff. They have a lot of depth as well. They just need that second reliable all-star caliber scorer, and I think if they get that this offseason, they could be a primetime contender coming into next season.
yeah.
Now,
Agreed.
the New York Knicks.
Oh yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. I'm a little hurt by that one, Jack, because I was rooting for them.
Can I
I
play the
was
clown?
really
Can I
rooting
play
for
the
them.
clown music now when you say
Oh my
Mike
God.
Clown three or four times during
My,
this
well,
rant?
we'll leave Mike Clown alone for the moment. Um, please, Steve Kerr, leave Golden State and come to the Knicks.
I don't think he's
Um,
going anywhere.
yeah,
I think he's
what's that?
retiring. I don't think he's going to
We'll
coach next
see.
season.
I don't know. Um, this isn't Knicks Celtics. This isn't Knicks Cavs. This isn't Knicks Pistons or Knicks Thunder or Knicks
Mhm.
Spurs. This is Knicks Hawks. The Knicks are so much more talented than that Atlanta team. I
Uh,
mean, so much more. I know Jalen Brunson couldn't guard me. I get it. He's a shit defender. He always has been.
or Carl
Um,
Anthony Town, for that matter.
well, I'm glad you brought up Carl Anthony Towns. Coach Mike Clown. Carl Anthony Towns needs the ball every time down the court. They ain't
Yep.
got nothing close to having someone that can guard that man in the post
Yeah,
in
they have no
Atlanta.
size. No size.
I mean, they
None.
run four guards.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are letting a 150-year-old CJ McCollum
Yep.
beat you. No disrespect to him. He's had a nice career, the pride of Lehigh University.
He's a good playoff performer.
He's a
Generally
very good
was with
player,
Portland back
but
in the
he's
day.
still a
So
year older than God's parents.
Yep.
And you, what in the hell? We can't stop the damn Hawks. And it was masked in game one. The Knicks were up by a country ton, by a ton going into the fourth quarter, and that game didn't. The Knicks won, but they had a huge lead that they blew in the fourth quarter. Up 12 in game two, blew the lead. Now I don't
Yep.
know if the Knicks are reading their own press. I don't know what's going on. They come out into game three sleepwalking. Sleepwalking.
Yep.
I mean, what in the hell is going on? They weren't. What did you think? You were going to throw your jerseys on the field? We're not the defending champs. We can't do that. We're not OKC. OKC might be able to do that, not us. And we sleepwalk. Now we ended up going ahead, and of course we can't guard with 12 seconds to go. Atlanta goes up one. Let's get to Mike Clown. Did either of you see the end of that game? Game 3? The last 12 and a half seconds? Well,
I
if you
didn't.
didn't,
I
let me
Oh
watched
tell
the
you
yeah,
I
what
watched
yeah,
the
happens.
highlights of
Let,
it, but
let
it
me
was a
tell you the genius
I had
offensive
questions
play
about it.
that
Yeah.
Coach Mike
yeah,
Clown came up with for the Knicks to take a pivotal game 3. Have Jalen take the ball, play hero ball, get triple teamed, and turn the goddamn thing over.
yep,
That was the best play you can come up with. You got Mikal Bridges, who we traded 5 goddamn draft picks for.
yes,
He didn't score in 2 games. In 2
yep,
games. I don't know. Part of me wants the. I mean, I know they kind of blew the Hawks out last night, despite what the score. Um,
hmm
and I still think the Knicks win this series in 6. The Knicks should have won this series in 4. They're that
yeah.
much
It should
better
have been
than
a sweep.
Atlanta.
Yeah, it should have been a sweep.
Maybe a
It was
gentleman's
five
sweep.
games.
Maybe
Yeah.
5
You're taking
games.
5 games. A
I don't.
gentleman's sweep, but yeah.
You know. We'll start with Marvin. What the hell's going on with my beloved New York Knicks?
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that one. I really don't get it. I really don't get it. Like the 2 games that they lost, they lost by 1 point, but had the lead in both of them. Right? Like literally, this should have been a sweep. Like this should have been over. This
Yep.
this this should have been over already. And like you all said, the gentleman sweep. I'll give you that one. I'll say, okay, that game in Atlanta, the 108 to 109. Okay, I'll give you that one. That it could have been Atlanta maybe could have pulled that one out. But other than that, they should have been dominated all the way through. They have no size whatsoever. Like you said, CJ McCollum's taking that shot. CJ McCollum knows he's taking that shot. He's telling the players on the court, I'm taking that shot, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they act like they can't guard it. And I don't understand it. And you're right. You have Towns. You literally, you literally can play pick and roll the entire game, and
Yep.
there's nothing Atlanta can do to stop it. If you can get Towns, you get Towns down low, throw pick and roll, throw him the ball in rotation. They don't have anybody that can block him trying to do it. They literally don't. Yet you play into for whatever reason the Knicks are they're coming out and playing Nick ball, and then all of a sudden they start allowing Atlanta to start playing their type of ball control, and they play their game to the end. And now it's just like, oh wait a minute, we might lose this. Let's step up and play like we know how to play, and it's normally too late. But you got to have hero ball at the end, which is ridiculous. They should have dominated this series from beginning to end.
Yeah. Yep. Steve,
And
what you see
get
out of the
ready for the
Knicks?
second round. Still,
This is what happens when you fire a head coach who got you to a
mm,
conference final last year and you don't get a better head coach to replace
You got
him.
a
I
worse
think
one.
I think Mike Brown, the most success he's had was when he was an assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors, where he can focus on what he wants to focus on, and that's defense. He's pretty good at that. Unfortunately, the way the roster is for the Knicks, it's not exactly tailor made for Mike Brown's philosophy of coaching. They're not a great
No.
defensive team. That's on Leon Rose, even though, as we discussed yesterday, he's done a lot of good work with the Knicks. It was James Dolan subverting his own GM to fire Tom Thibodeau. Then you bring in Mike Brown with a roster that doesn't fit his style of coaching, his philosophy, while getting rid of a coach that got you to the conference finals last year. This is what happens, and the Knicks absolutely deserve this. In my opinion, it's because of the man at the top that has no business owning a sports franchise. He's a music guy,
Yeah.
but he owns a
Yep.
sports franchise because of his father, Charles, and Cablevision way back when. It's just another case of the SOB, the son of the boss, coming in like Jeannie Buss for the Lakers after Dr. Jerry Buss, to be fair, and taking a really good franchise and turning it into what they are right now. And that's a middling franchise that gets to the
Yep.
playoffs, doesn't get very far once they get in, though.
Yep. Well, I don't think the players like Mike Brown. I really don't.
Mhm.
Specifically, Carl Anthony Towns. Carl Anthony Towns hasn't, and he has his own demons that he has to fight. Carl, I've crushed Cat enough on this pod, but I honestly don't think Mike Brown is very well liked or respected in that Knicks locker room. I don't. Um, and I think he might be, he might get the one and done treatment because he's not a fit. You fired Tom Thibodeau to have no plan. You were going to beg Dallas for Jason Kidd. Let's call facts fact. Jason Kidd is not better than Tom Thibodeau. He's not. He's
nope.
not. Not
He's
like
better than
not in
Mike
any world is
Brown.
he better than Tom. Now,
Yeah.
if you told me you're going to fire Thibodeau to bring in Eric Spoelstra, fine. You told me you're going to
That
fire,
would be an upgrade, yeah.
Tom Thibodeau to bring in Steve Kerr. Fine. Um, you had to beg other teams to trade their coach, which none of them did. Golden State, Dallas, for starters, and then you'd make a save face hire with Mike Brown. This is what you get. This is what you get. But we'll see how this all plays out. Um, like I said, we're running out of time. We don't want to be unemployed like Alex Cora of the Boston Red Sox. So let's get to Man Crush and Knucklehead. Sorry, I cannot help. I want to thank Marvin
That's
and the
my
Tampa
man
Bay
crush of the
Rays for
week.
waking the Yankees
Who's the
up.
general
The
manager of
Tampa Bay
Boston these
Rays
days? I
kicked the
can't keep
Yankees'
track.
ass, and the Yankees I
Yeah,
don't think have
yes, sir.
lost since. So I want to thank Tampa for awakening the beast. Always nice to
Yeah.
go to Houston and put belt to ass to the Astros. I know the Astros are a shell of themselves, but that's always nice. Let's get to
Big
Man
time.
Crush and Knucklehead before we need to say see you next week. We'll start with Marvin. Marvin, who's your Man Crush of the week?
So my man crush of the week is the great fans in the state of Pennsylvania and NFL fans, period.
Yeah.
320,000 people for
Yep.
round one of the
Yep.
NFL draft. That was insane. That was insane. So definitely from Man Crush, kudos to them. Honorable mention, Man Crush. We didn't get a chance to talk about them, but Carolina Panthers knocked the draft out of the park and
Yeah, they did.
getting Zakee Wheatley at 151, draft still.
Yep.
Man, that state from Penn State's a monster, and
Yep.
the NFL will be put on notice.
Nice. Steve, who's your Man Crush?
My man crush of the week is the Boston Celtics.
Oh, good Lord.
Preparing Marcus Smart to come to the Lakers to
Oh,
possibly
my
be
goodness.
a linchpin of the next Lakers championship team. Boy, when these former Celtics come to the Lakers, Rick Fox, Rondo, now Marcus Smart, chef's kiss. Boston Celtics, man crush of the week. Thank you for sending Marcus Smart our way to play possibly an integral role in the Lakers' next championship team, like Rajon Rondo, like Rick Fox. Awesome stuff.
Do we know whose wife Rick Fox is sleeping with these days or no?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Is he sleeping with Diana Rossini too? Nah, never mind.
Oh,
We
my
won't go
goodness.
there. I'm just playing.
Yeah, we won't go.
But anyway.
You know what? We got a Knucklehead of the Week coming up. I got a couple on that one, but go ahead, Jack.
Usually I don't like to go the homer route. My man crush of the week is so clearly Coach John Harbaugh. I mean, you want to talk about a guy. This man went into this draft and knew what the F he wanted. He knows what he wants his team to be. And anybody, and look, I'm a diehard Giants fan. There's not many fan bases dumber than the New York Giants fan base. I'm sorry. I see it all the time. These clowns, this man has a history of winning. He's arguably going to Canton. He has a prototype of what he wants. He wants big teams getting off the bus. And that's what he damn well got. John Harbaugh absolutely crushed this draft. It is so nice to have an adult in the room, finally, with this damn franchise. It is so nice to have someone who knows what in the hell he's doing. Congrats, Don Aponte. Congrats, John Harbaugh. I'll give Joe Shane his little flower too. But thank you, John Harbaugh, for bringing professionalism back to 1925 Giants Drive. That is my man crush of the week. But with the good, we also have to take the bad. Steve, we'll lead off with you this time. Who is your knucklehead of the week?
I have a couple. Start with frickin' Niners, John Lynch. No offensive lineman, another wide receiver. Well, no offensive lineman in the top 2 rounds. They did draft offensive linemen in the middle rounds, but none of the top 2 rounds. Chase Pasantes goes to the Cardinals, by the way, after the Niners could have gotten him at 33, but he goes to the Cardinals instead. One of your division rivals who had a very good draft with Chase Pasantes, Jeremiah Love, and Carson Beck potentially. We'll see how that turns out. But frickin' Niners, John Lynch. And then he talks trash about the Rams drafting Ty Simpson. You don't need to do that with a division rival, especially a division rival that won your division last year in the Rams. You need to remember that. So John Lynch, my primary knucklehead of the week, with honorable mention to the Patriots, who suspended Mike Vrabel for day 3 of the draft. Probably should have suspended him for the whole thing so he could have began his family counseling, dealing with his family and with his wife over the situation with Diana Rossini. I think the Patriots mishandled that. They tried to make the story go away as well, so a little bit more cover up, like Robert Kraft and the massage parlor we may recall, Deflategate and Videogate and all of that stuff. So honorable mention to the Patriots for how they're handling the situation with Mike Vrabel as a honorary knucklehead of the week, along with John Lynch and my 49ers.
Well done. Marvin, who's your knucklehead this week?
Oh my goodness. So my knucklehead is it was okay. I'll make him honorable mention. Then so my primary knucklehead of the week is Arizona Cardinals. What were you thinking and what were you doing? Like literally, I understand you. No, I don't. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand how you doubled down and you took a running back and now you got to guarantee him $51 million and you have so many other holes that you have to fix on your team. I mean, I really don't. I don't understand what the thought process was behind that. I hope everything turns out well, but you definitely had an opportunity to improve your team. You had a really good team last year. They kind of fell apart at the end, but they were exciting to watch. So hopefully this helps get you closer to where you want to be. But they were definitely my knucklehead and my honorable mention knucklehead. As Steve said, was actually Mike Vrabel to actually have a press conference the day before the draft and tell everybody you weren't going to be around the second round was just weird to me.
Yeah.
For a story that
Yep.
you said in the beginning wasn't true. No, I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Hey Marvin, I didn't know the Cardinals gave Jeremiah Love a guaranteed 4-year contract after drafting him. That is very unusual. I didn't think it was a
They're
bad
slotted.
pick, even though it was surprising. That
Yeah.
was surprising. I didn't know about that actually. So thank you for bringing that up. But wow,
Craziness.
that is
Crazy.
a very interesting move to say the
Yes,
least
it
by
is.
the Cardinals.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and draft picks are supposed to be slotted. This
Yes,
isn't the
that's
CBA.
correct. Yeah.
Draft pick. There's no holdouts. There's no draft picks are
Right.
slotted for their
That's right.
salaries.
It's set.
For
Yeah.
rookies.
The Sam
Yep.
Bradford rule. Remember Sam Bradford getting that
Oh, yeah.
$50 million guarantee?
Yes.
That
Yep.
was the genesis of that slotting of rookie contracts after Sam
Yep.
Bradford got that guaranteed deal.
Yep.
Didn't pan out that well in the NFL after getting that deal. We call that the Sam Bradford rule.
And is there anything more to just expand quickly on Marvin's point? Is there anything more Arizona Cardinals than the fact that you definitely shouldn't have taken Jeremiah Love with that pick. You had bigger fish to fry than Jeremiah Love. That
Reese.
the Arizona Cardinals and Monty
Cardinals.
Ossenford had the wrong goddamn phone number. They couldn't get. Did you guys see this? He was. They took almost the whole time, and Monty Ossenford got on TV and said, "Well, we did that because we had the wrong phone number." Are you kidding?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything more Cardinals than that?
Yeah,
if there's not
that sounds like
a signal from God that you made the wrong damn choice, you cannot call your player because you had the wrong effing phone number. Give me a break.
Oh my Lord, that is comical. Yeah. That is absolutely comical. Wow.
Oh, look at Monty Ossenford on the internet for that press conference. It's hysterical. My knucklehead of the week may surprise. Could I go with Mike Clown and the New York Knicks? Yes, I absolutely could, but I don't need to be sick to my stomach on a Sunday. I'm not trying to talk about Mike Brown again on a Sunday. I don't got to deal with that idiot until Tuesday. So I'm not going with Mike Brown. I could go with the New England Patriots for the absolute show they're putting on with this Diana Rossini stuff. Yep. I mean, what a loser way to have handled this whole situation. And now there's rumors out that she named her kid after the guy she was sleeping with. I mean, what a mess. Man. What a damn mess. She's out telling everybody it isn't true. And you got this guy telling people he's sorry, but he's not telling people what he's sorry for. What a show. We're not taking any questions.
Yeah,
you do this two nights before the draft.
The Jeremy Giambi way of apologizing, but
what a damn show. And this may surprise you. My knuckleheads of the week are the New York Football Giants, and I'll tell you why. You cannot have Steve Tish's stupid ass in that group photo on TV in that Giants war room. You cannot have him there.
Yep.
Just what he is or isn't guilty of, maybe we'll never know. But it was enough to make him, quote unquote, give up ownership in the team, and you got his stupid ass front and center.
Ooh,
John Mary, you got to be
yeah,
better than that. You got to put your foot
Yeah, the
down,
league
saying,
gets
Steve,
concerned
you go
about
hide in the corner.
optics.
You go. It is bad optics all day.
yes,
Shame on the New York
yes.
Football Giants for having that man anywhere near a camera, being associated with a proud franchise like the New York Giants. Anyway, I digress. That's my knucklehead of the week. Final thoughts. Steve, you're always the first one on. We'll start with you. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts are as follows. The draft is often judged ahead of time because of the 24/7 news cycle that we are in. You have to fill it with content. So it wasn't a very good quarterback draft, they say. Not a very good draft for this, that, and the other thing. Here's the thing, though. I'll guarantee you this. Every single draft, be it NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer, whatever it is, you're going to have stars. You're going to have busts. You're going to have serviceable players, above serviceable players. You're going to have journeymen who go from team to team to team. Like Jeff Green is still
It's mine.
playing in the NBA. He's with the
It's
Houston
mine.
Rockets right now. He's been with 11 teams, but he's been a good, serviceable NBA player. You've got all sorts of types of players coming out of the draft. Therefore, how do we know? Therefore, why are we prejudging these players? Because we have to, because of content, because of the 24/7 news cycle, all these different outlets, and this, and so on and so forth. Show me a draft that did not have stars slash Hall of Famers, busts, good players, journeyman players, serviceable players, below average players, and I'll show you a draft that never happened. We consider that stuff fun, but it's also really, really silly. At the end of the day, I feel like that these rookies should not be judged until they're getting near the end of their contracts, because they do have contracts and they have to play through those contracts, generally speaking, even though in the NFL you can cut those contracts short by cutting a guy. But at the end of the day, can we do a little bit less trying to project what these guys are going to do and just evaluate them for what they do right now, what they might mean to the team that is drafting them? If it was a good idea to draft them based on need, based on best player available, whatever the philosophy may be, and then give these guys the time that they need, because ultimately that's going to make our analysis better. There's going to be less pressure on the players worrying about what the perception of that player is, so they can focus on just doing their jobs and being a player. We could be better all the way around if we just allowed things to marinate a little bit longer than we do. Back to you, Jack.
Well said, Steve. Thank you, Marvin. Final thoughts from the Sunshine State.
I'm gonna stick with the theme of the NFL draft, but more so the NFL, right? The NFL reigns supreme, and the draft just shows just how much of a percentage that they own sports in the United States of America. And now we're spreading worldwide because they gave out numbers of international fans that were up at 1 o'clock in the morning, up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the NFL draft, where they were drafting players from colleges based in the United States of America. And the international tune-in was unbelievable. Um, it's oh my goodness, the NFL has become something even bigger than I think they had their own expectations of becoming, and I love every second of it. And just a quick quote for the week as you go into it: "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken," from the great Oscar.
Well said, Marvin. My final thought is this, especially for those of us who weren't necessarily happy with how the draft went down, for better or for worse. Have faith. There are still a lot of free agents out there. Monday at 4:01 p.m., tomorrow at 4:01 p.m., the clock expires on the comp pick compensation for signing players. So if you think your team needs A, B, or C, there are still a lot of good. You're not going to get top end free agents. They're all spoken for. You're not getting Tyler Linderbaum tomorrow. Okay. But the NFL is built on role players, guys contributing to the 11 on the field. There are some damn good players. If you have the cap room and you can do cap gymnastics, we've talked about this. Watch the wire for your team be it Jacksonville, be it the Niners, or be it my Giants, who still have a massive gaping hole at defensive tackle. Hello, Shelby Harris. Hello, DJ Reader. Hello, Calais Campbell. I want all three of them. The comp pick clock expires tomorrow. So it's not going to cost you a comp pick if you sign a player after 4 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. So have faith. There are still a ton of free agents out there that have not been signed yet. This is where you can really take your team to the next level. If you are smart with how you are spending your money, it's probably going to be a short 1 or 2 year deal. It's not going to bust your cap. You can really get some great players starting tomorrow based on what you did, based on how your draft board did or didn't fall. So have faith, everybody. With that said, we're going to bring our little Sunday brunch to a close here in the living room. For Marvin Harris down in Florida, for Steve out in Lake Elsinore, California, I'm Jack Angelo. We'll see you next week.